This weekend I'm going to be busy working out here in the garage. I bought some lathe accessories. I've acquired several interesting firearms over the past couple months. Been busy at work in that, but what I'm out here doing is I had to buy a couple different chucks, and I was working on yesterday. I turned a whole bunch of brass for the Snyder, made them out of that Magtech 24 gauge brass, and today I got to go and work on some other brass for that French tabatier, I guess, the snuff box. I'm going to cut down some 12 gauge and try to form it. I also had at work to make a shell holder for the 11mm Grot, because I got the Bertram brass, which has a correct rim thickness and diameter, and Buffalo Arms is sold out, so I had to go and make one myself. I had to get the different tools and cut one myself to make it, so I'll be working on that also. We progressed with reloading for the Verndl, which is 11.15mm, and that same bullet is used in the Gra, in the German M71s, 71 to 7184. I was going to kind of get into paper patching and got some bullets and was going to start on that, but I got sidetracked because I keep accumulating stuff and I got to get something done. So I will be making videos of the individual guns too as we go. You kind of seen I bought the tooling to make the ammo. I've kind of run into a problem. I'll cover that in a video about how I made my bore measurements. I may do some chamber castings this weekend. But let's look at some of the equipment that I borrowed from my shop, and I had to do that. And what I've got going on here on the lathe. Okay, here's my PM Matthews 1228 VF LB. This is a really neat lathe. It's just right for what I need without getting too crazy. Runs on regular household current. And for just making reloading tools and expanding plugs, firing pins, small parts, and working on trimming the brass, this is an outstanding lathe. With its variable speed, kick it down. Really nice. You can't do some real heavy stuff with it, but for what I'm doing, it's good. The chuck that came with it is just a basic chuck and pretty simple. It ran true, it ran good. But what I needed, and it had just hard jaws. It had two sets. It had external clamping and then internal clamping or something like that. You had to take the jaws out and change them. You couldn't flip them around. It was pretty basic item with hard jaws, and it ran true, and I used it. But now it came to where what I needed was a chuck that had interchangeable jaws, and then I can get soft jaws, and then I can cut these jaws to hold a certain job or piece that I need. And if you're not familiar with it, how these work is the chuck comes with a set of hard jaws. They unbolt, okay, and then they lock in with these grooves in it. Right here, they lock into this here. And see, these here you can clamp on an OD, and then you can reverse them, have the larger OD clamping just by reversing the hard jaws. So you could grab something much larger diameter. So actually on this chuck, if you flip them around, you can grab something close to 5 inches in diameter and still not hit the ways. I got these because I cut them out, notch them to hold the brass. Now this one here I got on eBay from a company, Shars. And when I got this chuck, put it on my machine, it ran like 3/3 of a thousandths. Okay, I mean, it was dead on. Now, I needed another chuck. I needed a 5C collet chuck. And there's my D14 mounting system. And I know I shouldn't have, but I bought this BioStar off of eBay for $140, $50. But if you buy a Bison or something that's real good, you're looking anywhere from $6. If you want the one with the fine adjustment, like $900. And I just didn't warrant it. This thing runs out about 6 thousandths or so. It's pretty terrible. So what the problem is down in here where my thumb is, where it mounts onto the lathe itself. You draw these things in, and this actually clamps on a taper that's on the spindle. What it is this does press on there, but this is not cut correctly. See, I've been bluing it and that. So what I'm going to do is just take it either to a larger lathe at work and recut that or cut that a little bit and try to get it to true up better and work on that. But unless you're skilled enough to fool with it or have a way of doing it, which I do, if you just have the one lathe, don't buy that BioStar chuck. The Shar's chuck is great. I wouldn't mind. I'd buy another product from them again. And also working with all these guns, I had to commandeer the gauge pin sets from work. These go up 3/4 of an inch. And I use these also to measure when I bore out the jaws. I use them to measure where I'm at, keep track of it. These here are excruciatingly expensive. I mean, the ones I use, you know, up to the 1/4 inch, the small set, and up to 1/2 inch. It's like $60, $80. These things here, if you look at the gauge pins going over a 1/2 inch, they get quite expensive. So fortunately, my employer is an understanding, kind person, let me borrow them this weekend so I can like work on measuring bores and everything else. We have this snuff box. I took it apart trying to get an idea what's going on. I'll do a separate video on that. I did slug the bore. I think I'm going to have to do a chamber casting because there's a question about what's going on here with it. I'm going to work on the Gra and some other rifles this weekend. So stay tuned. There'll be a lot of stuff coming up. And once I perfect these things, I'll make a video and go over how I do it.